Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Georgie Gould, and I am the Project Assistant at Global Community Resourcing. I am pleased to be the moderator for today's webinar, the focus on which is Hireup, the Future of Support, Harnessing Technology, Forge Meaningful Connections. Our webinar today is facilitated by Global Community Resourcing for the Community Care Smart Assistive Technology Collaborative. Global Community Resourcing has extensive international linkages, and we have been fortunate enough to work with many international projects and entities. If you have joined us for previous webinars, you'll know that they are designed from feedback and requests we receive through the collaborative, the focus of which our webinar is to bring together local, national and international perspectives in research and development, as well as the deployment of smart assistive technology in the community care sector. Just a reminder that if you haven't formally registered at the collaborative site, it is accessible to all and free to register. Please note that Global Community Resourcing are not promoting or endorsing any particular product, research, identity or organisation. The purpose of our webinar is to serve and to inform viewers of various smart assistive technology currently in deployment. We welcome questions, but I will let you know that all microphones have been muted. This is in the interest of the recording. Your questions can be added to the question panel on the dashboard on the right of your screen. There will be an opportunity for your questions to be answered at the end of the session. At previous sessions, we have been inundated with questions, so the earlier you post your questions, the more questions we can respond to. For those of you who have not used GoToWebinar before, your control panel will be on the right of your screen. To change the placement of the control panel, drag the top of the panel or click the box button on the top right of the panel or the arrows. To ask a question or contribute to the chat, click chat and type your message. In this webinar, Sarah Peddie-McGuirk will provide insight from Hireup, the future of support and how harnessing technology can forge meaningful connections. Sarah is the National Head of Community Engagement at Hireup. After completing a Bachelor of Social Science, Sarah has been at the forefront of innovation in the disability sector for over 10 years. As a founding member of Hireup and of Sydney-based charity Fighting Chance, Sarah has led numerous transformation and service redesign projects, creating new opportunities for people with a disability, both in Australia and overseas. Sarah is passionate about enabling all people to lead fulfilled lives through empowerment, contribution, and inclusion, and is excited about how new technology is paving the way for real change. Welcome, Sarah, to today's webinar. Please take it away.
Thank you so much, Georgie. It's a real pleasure to be here. That's quite a fantastic introduction. So thank you all those who are tuning in. As Georgie said, my name is Sarah. I've been on board with Hireup since the very beginning, and I've seen the sort of rapid growth in the space and certainly the exciting things that are happening in the disability and care sector at the moment. So what I wanted to take people through is a little bit more information about exactly what Hireup is, share with you our story and our vision, and then take people through some practical slides. What does it actually look like? How does it actually work? And then look at some back-end features. So how are we really supporting people utilising that technology to more effectively manage their support relationships? So what is Hireup? So Hireup is the online platform for people with disability to find, hire and manage support workers who fit their needs and who share their interests. And that idea of shared interest is really what is at the heart of Hireup, that we know support is so much more effective when it's built on the foundations of common ground and when people have the autonomy and the control to connect with support workers or connect with carers, that they actually feel like they have a connection beyond just meeting that individual's needs. So I want to explore that topic throughout today's webinar. As most of you know, the NDIS now has rolled out in New South Wales for quite some time and is also starting to roll out in Brisbane and is well established in other states and territories. And what the NDIS has always promised us is more choice and control in how people are accessing support services or activities and programs, etc. But one of the challenges has been that existing support services aren't necessarily changing or adapting to meet this new funding model. So there's a real need for innovation in the space in terms of how we're actually providing people with the information, with the resources, with the technology to be able to enable the exercise greater level of choice and control. And again, that's something that I want to explore throughout today's webinar. So I just wanted to share with you quickly a quote. So this is a quote from a lady called Mel, and Mel is a Hireup user in Western Sydney. And before Hireup, she was in the backseat of the car, watching someone else drive me in a direction, even if I knew that direction wouldn't work for me. Now I feel I'm in the direction I want to go, and I know I'm in the car with people who want to head in the same direction as me. I'm in control. So again, it really emphasises that idea that with people having more autonomy and more control over the supports that they're accessing and the support workers or carers that they're accessing, the support is actually far more effective. Just a quick background into where Hireup came from. So Hireup was founded in 2015. It was the brainchild of a brother and sister duo called Jordan and Laura O'Reilly, and they had a younger brother called Shane who had quite a significant physical disability. So they had the experience of different support workers coming in and out of the home, and often these support workers were highly skilled and they were lovely people, but they didn't necessarily connect with Shane on a level beyond that. So Shane was a young guy, he wanted to be going out, he wanted to be exploring the community with like-minded people, and he was being sent workers that actually didn't really fit the mould for him. And of course there was inconsistencies in the supports that he was receiving, so he was getting different workers coming in and out of the home quite regularly. At the same time, Jordan was studying to be an OT at Sydney University, and he was surrounded by all of these budding allied health students. And he thought there has to be a way to connect all of these fantastic allied health students with my brother, because they would be perfect support workers for him. And of course, during this time, we're starting to see the emergence of platforms like Uber and Airtasker and Airbnb, all of these sharing platforms that are allowing the service provider and the individual who needs the service to connect directly with one another. And we thought, well, could we actually apply those same principles, leveraging technology, and actually connect support workers and people seeking support directly with one another? And of course, with the NDIS coming into place, there's obviously a great need for more innovation in the disability sector. So it turns out it does work. To date, we have over 50,000 people who are registered on the Hireup platform, and that's both people seeking support and support workers. So Hireup is also a registered NDIS provider in New South Wales, ACT, Tasmania, Queensland, Victoria and South Australia. So regardless of how people's NDIS funding is being managed, they can access and utilise the Hireup platform. It's worth noting at this point as well that it's not restricted just to those people who do have NDIS funding. It is compatible with all sorts of different funding models, and also if people are choosing to be self-funded. Hireup is a contractor-free model as well. So unlike similar platforms like I was referencing before, Uber and Airtasker, etc., which are contractor-based models, Hireup made a really conscious decision at the beginning to take on board all of our support workers as employees, and we're going to explore that in a few slides' time. So to date, there's been 14,000 new connections that have been made, and we've saved people over $10 million in their NDIS funding. So the fantastic thing about leveraging technology is you can make support so much more efficient. So lowering the administrative costs by allowing the services and the service user to connect directly with one another, we've been able to reduce the cost for an hour of support quite significantly. And again, I'm going to explore that in a few slides' time. So who can find support on Hireup? So Hireup is not going to be the right platform for everybody, but ideally the right candidate for Hireup would be someone with a disability of any age who is looking for one-to-one support. And when I say it's not restricted to someone with a disability, of course we have people who are aging, we have people who have acute illnesses, we have people who may be going through some sort of rehabilitation program. So anybody who is looking for one-to-one support in whatever capacity that might be. To get the best out of Hireup, people seeking support will have the capacity to manage their own supports, or they'll have someone in their informal network who can act as an account manager for them. So typically this would be a parent or a sibling or a guardian. And those people who are seeking support on Hireup, they connect directly with the workers of their choosing, they make the bookings, they confirm and approve the hours, and they have to manage that relationship ongoing. So at the moment, the platform is for people who do have the capacity or someone in their informal supports to be able to manage that relationship, and we might move to a place where we can be a little bit more hands-on, but for now, it is for that cohort, that group of people. So Hireup is really designed, right back at the beginning, Hireup was designed to be as flexible as possible to allow maximum creativity for people. So what is it that people are actually looking for? What type of support do they need? Whether that be therapy support in the home, whether it be support to access the workplace, whether it be personal care support, etc. But generally we've categorised it into these 8 areas. So help around the house, education and employment, in-home care, transport, personal care, therapy support, out and about, or specialist high needs. So Hireup, as I said, is really designed to give people a holistic support experience. So if people are looking just for transport, then they can access just transport. But if people are looking for a whole gamut of different types of support, then they can access that through Hireup as well. And it's just dependent on who are the support workers in your community and what supports are they able to provide for you. The therapy support one I might touch on quickly because that's something that's been of real interest to people. We know that people get their funding, and again I'm going to refer to NDIS funding, and often they don't tend to get as much funding as perhaps they would like for their therapy support services. So people might have funding to access a therapist perhaps once a month, but then they might also have some additional funding left over, and they're thinking, well, how do we actually use this funding to contribute or to build on the therapy services that we're accessing? And they might choose to engage with a support worker who can go along to that therapy session, learn what that program is, and then help to implement that program in the home or out in the community. So really starting to look at support workers or carers and say, well, how do we leverage their skills? We've got these people in our home, or we're able to access these people out in the community. What can we give them? What resourcing can we give them? How do we develop their skills so that they can better support us or support our loved ones? So the therapy support piece is a really, really fascinating one that people are starting to explore more and more often. So then who are our support workers? So our support workers are as diverse and as varied as the people who are seeking support in our community. And they can be people who have been in the support sector, the care sector for many, many years, or they could be people who are just new to the space. We have people ranging from 18 right up to people in their 70s who are providing all different levels of support. And I think what's the fantastic thing about thinking of support is maybe when we think about caring or we think about disability support or whatever it is that people might refer to, we kind of get a little bit stifled or a little bit boxed in terms of what that means and traditionally what a support worker or a carer can and can't do, and there's often a lot of restrictions around that. So I think what I encourage people to do is start to think about, well, what is it actually that you need? What is it that you're actually looking for in terms of supports? And is it that maybe you're looking for a social coach? Is it that maybe you're looking for someone to help connect you better into your community or your loved one better into the community? Is it that somebody is looking for support in education or mentorship? Maybe that individual is just looking for someone to be a personal assistant, a music teacher, a sports buddy, perhaps a lifestyle coordinator or a personal care assistant. So rather than thinking about support and care and the sort of restrictions and barriers that have been put on that, start to think a little bit more creatively about, okay, well, what is it that we actually need, and what type of person, what interests, what skills, what personality would that person have to be able to fulfill that role for me, which I think is incredibly, incredibly exciting, and something that this new kind of innovative world of the disability space is giving us permission to think a little bit more creatively about what sort of supports we access. So I want to take you through now the registration process. So of course Hireup is an online platform. At the moment we don't have an app, we are just a web-based platform. I'm campaigning very strongly for the app, so watch this space. Hopefully over the next sort of 6 to 12 months we'll be launching the Hireup app, which will be fantastic. For both people seeking support and support workers, the registration process does happen online. And this is an opportunity to create a profile for yourself. So again, utilising technology to be able to actually share with the community what it is that you're looking for in support, and a little bit of information about who you are as a person and your interests or the interests of your family, etc. So creating a bit of a bio for yourself. Areas of support that you might be interested in. So what are the areas of support that you might be looking for support in, or that your family are looking for support in? And then the financial details there. So how are you going to be paying for the Hireup service? And then, of course, a service agreement at the end. And our service agreement, because of the nature of Hireup, because it's really about flexibility and people being able to utilise the platform whenever they like, our service agreement doesn't fix people into any sort of set hours of support or care for any set cost. It's really, really flexible. It's more about you and your utilisation of the platform, so your responsibility as a user of the platform. Support workers, again, really, really simple. Creating a profile. What are your interests? What are your hobbies? What are your experience? And importantly, what type of support are you wanting to provide to your community? Verification steps. So because we do bring on board all of our support workers as casual employees, it means that we require a police check, a working with children or blue or yellow card, depending on what state you're in. We also require a first aid certificate, and you can see there 2 references. And then, of course, the casual contract at the end. Again, it's just more about their rights and responsibilities as an employee of the Hireup platform. So the way that Hireup works is that there's 2 sides. You've got people who are seeking support and their families, and again, that can range from people who have early intervention, funding, right up to people who might be in aged care funding. And on the other side, you've got the support workers. And as I said, they're as varied and diverse as the people who are seeking support. So on both sides of the platform, you've created a profile, and now you're able to search and connect with one another. So this is what a profile looks like for a support worker. So you can see there the name, the age, and the location, a little bit of information about who Danny is. So she works in the communications team here at Hireup. She loves reading and writing and all things media. She loves playing and watching sports, etc. You can see there that she's new to the industry and she's just keen to get involved in her local community. So straight away you start to get a snapshot as to whether Danny could be the right type of support person for yourself or your loved one. A few quick facts there: level of experience, whether she has a preferred gender to work with, okay with pets, transport, etc. And then on the left-hand side, her availability, what information has been verified by Hireup, and then the support areas, so help around the house, out and about, education, training, and employment, and transport. So they're the areas that Danny has nominated she would like to provide supports in. On the other side of the platform, then you've got somebody who would be seeking support. So this is Evander. This is the profile of a young man who is actually the son of one of my colleagues here, Claire. And straight away you can see that Claire is Evander's account manager. We can read that Evander is a very happy and cheeky 7-year-old boy. He loves going to the skate park. He attends a local primary school with his older brother and sister. He'll eat a whole margarita pizza. I've met Evander and that's very true. He's very, very cheeky. He loves his dog Boxer, and he would love to meet new people. And then below that you get some support requirements. So a spinal cord injury, he uses a wheelchair, very good upper body, very independent, etc. So again, you start to get a snapshot as to who Evander is, a little bit about his personality, and a little glimpse as to what the support requirements could be for him. And below there, the support areas that Claire and Evander are looking for. So some help around the house, some in-home care, personal care would be required, and then also some out and about support. And of course, on the left-hand side, we can see that he is looking for a support worker. So that's the 2 sides of the platform. So then how are people actually connecting with one another? How do people get introduced to one another, which is kind of the exciting part? So there's 2 ways to go about that. The first way is the jobs board. And again, this wouldn't be possible without technology. So how are people actually spreading the word? How are people advertising for the types of jobs or the types of activities that they're seeking support for? I want to talk to you about that in the next slide, but I firstly just wanted to share with you some of the fantastic job posts that are coming through on the Hireup jobs board, and they are endless, but it really gives you a glimpse into how people are thinking creatively about the supports that they access, and how people are thinking about, well, who's going to be the right type of support worker to provide effective support for this particular activity. So the first one is social support and Lego organisation. So you can see here that this was posted in Macquarie Hills, that Kristen is posting on behalf of Dylan, so she would be his account manager. We can see that it's a one-off job, and they're looking for someone with a love of Lego, a fellow Lego enthusiast, to help get his Lego into some sort of system and organisation and then put back together. She also says there that occasionally the Lego will require a bath as well. So you can see here that Kristen has posted, as I said, a one-off job, but with the right person, we might be looking for somebody ongoing. So a lot of people will just start to put the feelers out and say, well, who is in my community? Who's going to respond to my job ad? And then from there, we can think about how we're going to sort of build on this relationship and maybe start to work together more regularly. The next one was very popular. This was a young lady who was travelling from Condobolin, so a very remote area. She was travelling to Sydney to attend the Harry Styles concert. Now, Caitlin has a physical disability. She required support to access the concert. She, of course, didn't want to go with her mum. She wanted to go with a fellow 1D fan. And you can see here that 155 support workers were keen on this job. I think one of them was me, and 44 support workers were interested. She connected with a lady called Bonnie. They went to the concert together. Caitlin's travelling again to Sydney to see another concert in January, and she's connected with Bonnie again to go along to that concert with her. So something that is really fantastic about Hireup, and something that I sort of want to speak to at the moment, is this idea of people being able to travel interstate and connect with supports wherever they are. So because Hireup is a national community of supports and the technology works wherever you are, you can actually connect with somebody when you're traveling, whether that be to Melbourne, whether that be to Brisbane, whether it be wanting someone to, to pick you up from the airport and take you from A to B. And a lot of people are starting to really utilize Hireup for that purpose. Obviously, it's not feasible for a lot of people to access supports for the duration of a holiday, but what they can do is maybe get some supports in the morning or in the evening, or some supports during the day whenever they are, wherever they happen to be. So that's something that I think is really, really fantastic, this idea of building a national network of supports for people to access wherever they are. The final job I wanted to share with you was support to learn yoga. And the reason why I love this is because she mentions that she doesn't just want someone to assist her to get to and from yoga, but she also wants someone to get involved in the class, which I think is really, really fantastic. You can see there she had 2 support workers that were interested in that job, and she did connect with a support worker who's now going along to that yoga class with her. So what does a job post look like? It's really straightforward. Again, people can post a one-off or an ongoing job. If you do or don't have a specific date in mind, you can pop that in. And then where will the support take place? So by default, an email will be sent out to all of the support workers that are within 20 kilometres of the location you're registered in, so usually your home address. But if you are wanting the support to take place somewhere else, as I said, if you're travelling to the Gold Coast or Melbourne or wherever you might be going, you can actually put in the location of your hotel or wherever it is that you're staying, and all of the support workers that are in and around that area will then get notified of your job. Thinking of a job title and thinking of a description and the support required. So again, this is an opportunity to just be really specific about the activity that you're wanting to do, and also be really specific about the right person for you. So putting in whether there's a gender preference, whether you're looking for someone within a certain age, whether you're looking for someone who has certain interests, etc. So that's the first way to connect. The second way for people to connect is to message one another directly. And again, this all happens through the online platform. So you can search for support workers in your area, or if you're interested in doing support work, you can actually search for people seeking support in your area. So there is a filter function on the left-hand side there to pick and choose whether you have a certain age range, whether you'd like someone within a certain distance from you, what type of support is required, whether that individual requires transport, etc. Once you've ticked all of those, the people who meet that criteria will come out here on the right-hand side, and you get a little snapshot into who they are. So their age, when they last viewed the platform, how far away they are from you, etc. And you can decide, yep, I'd like to view that person's profile. I'd like to then send a message and engage with that person. And here we can see what the messaging function looks like. It's really, really straightforward. So this is a really fantastic feature, I think, in some of our smaller communities where there isn't a whole heap of support workers in Sydney and some of our other capital cities. There are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of support workers on the platform. So I really think posting a job is the most efficient, easy way to connect and to get a small pool of people to then reach out to. But I think the messaging feature, works equally as well in areas that might have a smaller community of people. So bringing your own worker, this is a really exciting thing, and again, something that we probably didn't think about right at the beginning, but a lot of people are starting to look within their existing networks and think about someone who might have been providing supports to them previously, whether it be informally or through another organisation, and thinking, okay, well, we want more autonomy in how we manage our relationship. Let's register through Hireup and continue to manage our relationship that way. Or if people are looking for someone really, really specific. So maybe people are looking for someone with a certain experience in a certain area. Maybe they're looking for somebody who, attends the same, swimming pool that they do because they want to be going there each week. A great example is Mel, who we spoke to at the beginning there with her quote. She actually connects with fellow uni students, people who are studying the same course as her. She puts a job post up in the uni career hub, gets a bunch of responses, interviews them, and then asks for them to sign up to Hireup. And then she actually utilises that support when she's in and around the uni. So they're the best people to provide effective support in that environment for her. So thinking about where could we be advertising, the local paper, the community newsletters, school, university notice boards, etc. Or maybe we want to advertise online through Gumtree, Facebook, or platforms like Care Careers. So about 60% of people on Hireup are bringing on board one, if not more, of their support workers. And when we're just seeing that number increase, people are really starting to be incredibly proactive about reaching out and engaging with their own supports, and then simply using Hireup as an administrative tool to facilitate and manage that relationship ongoing. So the booking system is all really straightforward, and again, utilising the technology to make it really, really efficient. So the booking request is always made by the person who is seeking the support. The support worker then confirms, yes, I will be there, I'll be at that shift. After the shift has been worked, the support worker submits their hours, and the person seeking support approves the hours. So nothing is ever processed or invoiced for the family or the individual without them getting the final tick of approval. We can see there it's very straightforward, popping in the start date, start time and finish time. And we can also see there whether it's a repeat booking and if that person requires vehicle allowance, which is an additional 78 cents per kilometre. And that's if they're utilising their vehicle when they're on a shift. That's what the booking request will look like once it's been sent. And then the support worker will see this on their dashboard and they'll confirm, yep, I will be there. The support plan, I want to quickly touch on the support plan. Again, the support plan is for people to be able to provide more specific information about the exact support that's going to be required. Now, this isn't accessible to everybody. This is only accessible to people who you've chosen to make a booking with, so people that we would consider are now on your team. And this includes information about behaviour management, it includes manual handling information, it includes information about mealtime assistance, etc., any medical considerations, and it also has the emergency contact details listed there. Now, the fantastic thing about this support plan is that unlike a traditional provider, you may get a support plan or a care plan. You might read through that at the beginning. It then gets put in a drawer and you don't necessarily ever see that care plan again. The idea of this support plan is that we know people's support needs are ever changing. We know that there are new circumstances that might arise that means someone needs more or less support in a certain area. So the fantastic thing about this support plan is that it's constantly being updated, it's constantly evolving, and it's accessible to people at any point. So because it's online, people can access this support plan wherever they are. So if ever they have concerns or questions about something, they can reference the support plan and just find the answer to whatever that question might be. And of course, they always have the emergency contact details there as well. We request feedback on these support plans as well. So maybe someone's gone into the home to provide support and maybe they've provided support in a certain area that wasn't detailed in the support plan. We'd of course ask that family or that individual just to update that plan to make sure the information's in there for the next support worker. This is very much in its infancy. We've got some really exciting plans and exciting ways to make this support plan more engaging, and it includes people being able to upload videos. It includes people being able to upload existing management plans, so they're not having to rehash information that's already there. So the whole host of things we want to do to make sure that this support plan is really detailed and really, really comprehensive, and that support workers are regularly accessing this and keeping up to date with that individual support requirements. I just wanted to share with you a quote that came through from one of our support workers, because this new world of disability support, and particularly in the face of the NDIS, doesn't just present really fantastic opportunities for people seeking support, but it actually also provides really exciting opportunities for support workers or carers, if you like. And this was a quote that came through a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, oh, I have to pop that in my presentation. So Leanne says that Hireup takes away the anxiousness of roster changes and being spoken to by a middleman. I love that I get to arrange the shifts based on my lifestyle. I enjoy coordinating my availability, and that I can meet people based on personality and character. Time flies by when I am on a shift, and I consider this not only my place of work, but a way to create new friendships. It is pure joy sharing an experience with someone and not just being sent there by a company to support a client I know nothing about or what requirements they need. And I thought that was really poignant, because it really does emphasise that support workers would like more autonomy in the support that they provide, and also more flexibility in managing their own relationships and managing their own rostering, etc. So on that note, I wanted to talk to you about the contractor-free model. So all of our support workers come on board as casual employees in line with the SHADS award or the SCADS award. And as I said at the beginning, we verify all support workers, police checks, ID, working with children or blue and yellow card. We also require work history, first aid, CPR, and 2 professional references that are both contacted. So workers are not required to have an ABN. There are similar online platforms popping up in the space, and they're contractor models. So that means that worker is operating as a contractor. They have an ABN and they're managing their own insurance. So Hireup does take care of all of the insurance. So that's workers' compensation, public liability, professional indemnity. And we obviously also take care of payroll, tax and super. So again, another real reason as to why people might be transitioning on to Hireup with existing support teams is because it's taking care of all of the administrative bits and pieces that people might have otherwise been doing for themselves previously. So a quick pricing breakdown, and I'll share our pricing schedule with Georgie at the end of the presentation for anyone else who might like to access that. But the Hireup standard rate is $42 an hour. And of that, $31.55 inclusive of the superannuation is going to the support worker. And that's our starting rate. So that's Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. till 8 p.m. And of course, penalty rates apply in the evenings and on the weekends. But we do have 4 levels of pay above that as well. So if an individual is wanting to pay their support team at a higher rate, maybe the support being provided is particularly complex, maybe that person has certain skills, maybe that person has been with that individual for a long time, then it is up to the family if they would like to increase that hourly rate. So what does the rest cover? So payroll and invoicing costs, all of the insurance, as I mentioned. A lot is reinvested back into our support worker learning and development initiatives and Hireup scholarships. So this is something that we're incredibly proud of. We know that the support sector is traditionally quite transient. We know that it doesn't necessarily attract people who stay for a long time. And we want to change that. We want to provide support workers and carers with really exciting professional development opportunities. We also want to provide them with scholarships to access new areas of support that they might be interested in. And one example of what we're doing already is mental health first aid courses. So that's a 2-day course that we're offering to some of our high volume support workers to be able to access that course free of charge, because we really believe that by them having those skills, it feeds back into the community and is of benefit to everyone. And then, of course, the cost of the Hireup staff and the community support team here. So at a glance, in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland and Tasmania, the NDIS will give people $48.14 per hour, and that's to access one-to-one supports in your core support budget. By using Hireup at $42 an hour, people are saving $6.14. And again, because we're leveraging the technology, because we're giving people the tools and the resources and the information that they need to manage their own supports really efficiently, we can reduce the cost of that hour of support. We don't have all of those administrative costs that are kind of chipping away at that $48 for team. So that's a big draw card for people in accessing the Hireup platform. People might utilize that saving to access more hours of support throughout the week. They might accumulate that saving and then use it if they're going on a holiday and taking a support worker with them. They might actually choose to pay their support worker at a higher rate of pay utilizing that saving amount. So I touched on it, our learning and development. We're really committed to building out new learning and development modules for our support team. At the moment, we have an induction, so it's all about the rights and responsibilities as a worker. We have a welcome to working with purpose, so understanding the NDIS and the role that you as a support worker provide in effective and individualised support. And then working safely, so how are we keeping ourselves and the people around us safe, and also thinking about our environment and our own health and well-being. So they're really fantastic modules that all of the support workers now have access to. Just to finish up, I wanted to touch on how people are protected. So of course we are an online platform and naturally people tend to have reservations about that, but safety is absolutely paramount. It's at the forefront of our minds every single day, and we do a lot to ensure the safety of both our support workers and those people who are seeking support on the platform. So we screen and verify all users. That includes people seeking support. So we appreciate that it's not going to be the right platform for everybody. So we have a phone call with everybody who registers to touch base and to understand the support requirements and to ensure that Hireup is actually going to be the best place for them to access those supports. We request feedback on every single shift that's booked through the platform. That's confidential feedback that comes through to us at Hireup, and that could be positive or it could be constructive, and of course we act on that as needed. We are working towards being able to have testimonials and reviews and other things, response rate times and all of those fantastic things on an individual's profile, but we're not there just yet. But again, watch this space, hopefully in the next sort of 6 months or so. We do offer round-the-clock support over the phone and via email. So while our office hours are 9 to 5, people do have access to a phone number if ever there is an incident or they needed to connect with somebody. We have a dedicated trust and safety team. So that team is there to be able to swiftly and discreetly manage any sort of incidents as they come through. And that could be something, you know, a breakdown in a relationship or a miscommunication over the hours or whatever it might be. All Hireup users are covered by our comprehensive insurance, as I mentioned earlier, and we provide an on-shift induction guide and induction video for both sides of the platform. So that's something that people can take with them to their first shift to make sure that all of their questions have been answered. That's where my presentation ends. I felt like I went through that quite quickly. I'm really open to hearing some questions if anybody has any questions that they would like to send through, Georgie.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Sarah. We can really see how that platform not only is a positive impact for clients, but also a huge impact on positivity for the workforce.
Absolutely.
We do have a lot of questions.
Great.
So we'll start with Don. He's asked a couple of questions that I might just merge together. Don has asked, he has a fund managed with NDIA. How does this work with Hireup? And how do I pay for my vehicle allowance?
Yeah, fantastic. Great question, Don. Thank you. So as I said, for those people who are either self-managed, plan-managed or NDIA managed, you can access the Hireup platform. So for you, Don, being an NDIA managed participant, it simply means that we put in place what's called a service booking, and a service booking is allocating a certain amount of your funding to be utilised by Hireup. So whenever you make a booking, there's a little pool of funding there that we just draw from, and now that amount is really flexible. So right at the beginning, you might just opt to maybe put $1,000 in, or you might opt to put $10,000 in, depending on what supports you're looking for, and that can be cancelled at any time as well. So it's just allocating an amount of funding. That's done through the My Place portal. That's something that we're able to do. There's no cost for us to do that, but it's also something we're able to provide support for you to be able to do as well. So a service booking is in place. With the vehicle allowance, vehicles has always been and transport has been a tricky one in the world of the NDIA. What we have received information about, or what we're given permission to do at this point, is if people are wanting to claim their vehicle, so to claim the 78 cents per kilometre, they can do that through their core support funding at this stage. So there isn't a fantastic solution to that, but what the NDIA have said to us is that we can take that 78 cents per kilometre, we can translate that into the equivalent support hours, and we can claim that from your call support budget. So that's what's happening with the vehicles. In order for us to be able to do that, you just need to say, yep, I'm happy for that to happen, and then we automatically do that. So once that service booking is in place, there's nothing more that you need to do. We'll be claiming that amount weekly, and of course you'll be getting statements about the amount that's coming out each week.
Thanks, Sarah. The next question is from Sage, and she's wondering, is there any interaction between Hireup users?
That's a great question, Sage. We do have, so at the moment, the way that the platform is set up is that people seeking support can only see support workers, and support workers can only see those people who are seeking support. We're really wanting to build out new ways to network and to connect people. That's something that we're working on from a product perspective. But what we're doing in the community, and it depends where people are, but we often tend to do meetups, community catch-ups, we do launch events, we do introductory sessions. So we're trying to create a space for people on both sides of the platform to come together and to meet one another. So at the moment, that's happening in Queensland, sort of Brisbane area. That's happening in and around Sydney, southwest Sydney. Also happening in Victoria, so Melbourne, and a few other places. But we're hoping to kind of get a really strong on-the-ground presence in a lot of new places next year, which we're really, really excited about. But definitely, we need to be building a product that's allowing people to better network with one another.
I think we have time for one more question. This one comes from Ali, who does a lot of research in rural and remote areas and carers, and she's wondering if there's much uptake in the rural and remote communities, or if it's only main city based.
Yeah, again, another really, really fantastic question. There is uptake in rural communities. Predominantly those people are people who are bringing on board their own support. So because Hireup is an online platform, it can be accessed by anyone, anywhere. And we are seeing that people are bringing on board someone that might be within their existing community, maybe someone who was sort of providing more informal supports previously before they had funding. And those people are registering and they're working together through the platform. So we are starting to see that happen. The other fantastic thing about Hireup is that in rural and remote communities, it also addresses, and also in more metropolitan areas, it addresses a really fantastic employment question as well. So Hireup is a really fantastic employment solution in rural and remote communities where that could be a challenge for people. So that's something that we're starting to explore. We actually have plans to do a bit of a road show at the beginning of the year to go out to rural and remote communities, because we feel that once they have the information, once they're sort of initially set up, those communities just start to hum and they start to be really self-sustaining and don't really need that same level of on-the-ground presence if they've got some really fantastic users in that community who are kind of advocating and providing that support to other people in their area. So rural and remote, yes, there are people using it in rural and remote areas. We don't do a huge amount of promotion in any of those areas just yet, but moving into the new year, it's something that we want to really explore. The other thing that I didn't mention is that Hireup's really fantastic for people finding culturally appropriate supports. And again, this is something that's more prevalent in rural and remote communities. So I know that a lot of people are resistant to accessing supports if that support isn't actually culturally appropriate for them. So Hireup's a really fantastic solution for people to connect with someone who's going to be really specific and sort of satisfy their cultural requirements as well. That's something that we're starting to explore, which is really exciting.
That is exciting, Sarah, and thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to receiving more information about that roadshow and the launch of the app. We'll get behind you on that one.
Yes, everyone get on Facebook and say, we need an app, and then we'll get pushed up the priority list.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
So what's next for the Community Care Smart Assistive Technology? We are hosting the ITAC pre-conference site visit to the Tonsley Innovation Precinct. The tour through Tonsley will span over a full day and will feature various group activities, which includes an autonomous vehicle demonstration, Flinders Digital Health Research Centre visit, and many more. For more information, please email sat@communityresourcing.com.au. If you haven't already done so, please go online and register for the collaborative. You will be able to access today's presentation and have the opportunity to ask further questions. Please check the collaborative for more information on upcoming events. If you have any further questions or inquiries, please email us at sat@communityresourcing.com.au. Once again, I'd like to thank the members of the collaborative research team and today's guest, Sarah. Thank you everyone for attending today's session.